Hello, my name is Swens.
I recently reached Immortal solo queuing in Valorant, and today I wanted to share some tips and tricks on how to rank up and improve.
I'll be covering as much as possible, from aiming tips to in-game strategies that will help you die less and win more.
That being said, let's get into tip number 1. Train your aim. A game of Valorant means spending the majority of your time not shooting people. So if you want to get better at hitting shots, I have 2 ways to improve. The first one is downloading Aim Lab. It's free on Steam. I highly recommend it. Once you've got it, you want to open up Precision Micro Shot and Flicking Six Shot. These 2 are the best for training your aim. This is because unless you're opping close range, Valorant is a game of precision. With good crosshair placement, you won't have to flick as far as in other games. AimLab is a perfect way not only to gain muscle memory, but to become aware of your arm and wrist when aiming. You want to figure out if you're aiming with your wrist, your arm, or a combination of both. This brings me to my next tip. Find your sensitivity. Most professional players play in between 0.5 and 0.8 in-game with 400 DPI, but it's really up to preference. I myself play at 400 DPI with 0.5 in-game, and I use a combination of my arm and wrist to aim. Wrist-intensive gamers will use a higher sensitivity, whereas arm gamers will be on the lower end. As long as you can turn around 180 degrees without having to pick up your mouse, you should be fine. Tip number 3, hit the range. Even if you were just in AimLab for an hour, you should always hit the range before playing your first game.
The footage you're watching right now is what my friend Parker does to warm up, and I found it works really well for me as well. You use practice mode instead of the start option, and clear all but just one bot to one side of the area. Then just headshot it over and over again until it becomes automatic.
Tip number 4, stop repeaking. Repeaking an angle after being seen by an enemy is most of the time suicide. Think about it. They're going to know exactly where you are while they could have repositioned. It's possible to win these fights, but you're putting yourself at a serious disadvantage. However, there are 2 exceptions to repeaking. If you have an op and are not wide swinging into multiple enemies, and if you have a flash or some sort of other utility to help you win that fight. Tip number 5, know the angles. Expose yourself to as little angles as possible at all times. This is especially important when attacking a site. Coordinating with your team to use smokes, blocking powerful positions, works wonders. In this game on Ascent, we made sure to smoke off all the powerful positions on A site so that players could not get picks on us while we were entering. On defense, you always want to have an idea of where the enemy could be and not expose yourself to 2 angles at once. Asu is actually in this game, and I killed him once. He had his knife out, but I'm counting it. Tip number 6 is playing retake. On defense, dying at the start of the round without using your abilities is never a good idea, even if you bring someone down with you. Don't be afraid to give it up and retake with your team altogether. The attackers will usually spend most of their utility taking the site, and will actually be at a disadvantage when they're trying to hold it. This strategy especially works if your team composition is offensive and has a lot of duelists, which, let's face it, is more often than not. Tip number 7, stop peeking ops. Look, they have to click your body, and you have to click their head. If they miss, they just back up and do it again. If you miss, you're dead. Just smoke them or flash them. Stop peeking ops, please. Tip number 8, keep your gun out. Murphy's Law actually states that if you have your ability out, and an enemy could be around that corner, they sure as hell are. Especially in the lands of ranked, you have no clue where DM Diver 42069 could be playing, so unless you know you're safe, have a gun out for God's sake. You could at least break their shield by hitting them in the body once or twice so they have to spend 1,000 creds. Otherwise, you're just a free kill. Tip number 9 is pre-aiming. After dying to that one dude in that one spot over your last 2 weeks of playing Bind, you have a pretty good idea of where his head is going to be this time, which means all you have to do is use your giant brain to imagine him standing there. You just pre-aim it, and you just brain the poor kid before he can even react. If you can record your games, I highly recommend watching your own footage and looking at your crosshair placement. I've noticed personally that when I'm under pressure, my crosshair moves to chest height. Tip number 10, map control. The more map control you have, the more information you have. Cypher is extremely powerful because just by placing his trapwires, he knows exactly where the enemy hasn't pushed. I'm not saying to go on long flanks every round, but every once in a while, making a deep push for information could catch the enemy off guard and win you rounds that you would normally lose. When you're on a deep flank, you don't have to overextend for a kill. You can just relay to your team where the enemy isn't. Tip number 11, tap the bomb. Here's the scenario. You have to defuse and there's still enemies left. All you have to do is tap the bomb defuse button, and if you don't know where the enemy is, either push a place where they could be, or hold until they start peeking or running. If you're last alive, make sure you don't make any noise after tapping so the enemy thinks that you're sticking the defuse. Without tapping the bomb, good players will never peek you, because they know that time is on their side.
If you found these tips helpful and learned something new, be sure to like the video. If you think that it sounds like I have no nose, it's because I'm extremely sick right now and I cannot breathe through it. Anyways, I plan to post a lot more Valorant guides in the future, so if you're interested in that, please consider subscribing. Before this video, I've been posting mainly raised double jump content, but I wanted to branch out and expand into other areas of the game. I've been considering posting Immortal level games that are cut down to show highlights, lowlights, or funny moments, so let me know in the comments if you're interested in watching that. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I've been Swens. Have a great day.